Week in Civics. My name is Rachel Davison-Humphreys, and this is our weekly live show where we talk about everything that's happening in civics, history, and at the Bill of Rights Institute. I'm Director of Outreach, and I am your guide every Monday morning throughout the school year. So the Bill of Rights, we know that citizenship is hard work. BRI is here to help. Hi. This week, we wanted to talk about cultures of respect in the past and today. This year is not going to be an easy year, but it still could be a joyful one. Many teachers and students are starting their school year today. Well, welcome to a new school year. I've been traveling the country doing professional development with teachers throughout the summer, and I know that teachers are so committed to making this the best year possible for the students. We're still in the midst of a pandemic teaching year. We still have to help our students navigate a lot of difficult conflicts, both internally and externally. It's a lot for history and civics teachers to deal with. But BRI is here to help. And like I said, I'll be here every Monday talking through current opportunities. If you want to make sure you're up to date, go to our homepage, sign up, and you'll get lessons and resources straight to your email inbox. So this week, our teacher newsletter had the theme of respect. Which came from our American Portrait series, where it looked at 13 different individuals, from William Penn to Dolly Madison to Chief Joseph and the Tuskegee Airmen, introducing your students, if they aren't familiar with these figures, and asking really important questions about how they were respected or not respected and how they respected those around them. I wanted to point your attention to one of our favorite lessons, which is one on establishing classroom culture. I'd love to hear from you. What are the kind of citizenship lessons that you do early on in the school year to help your students establish that classroom culture that allows for a pluralistic community in your classroom? So many of you are in classrooms where you have lots of students from lots of different backgrounds, or maybe you have lots of students from the same background, but you're introducing ideas or interpretations from backgrounds that aren't common in that community. How do you develop that classroom culture of respect? What are some things you do? We'd love to hear from you. If you're looking for something to do today or this week or this month, we have a great classroom resource called Defining Classroom Citizenship. It's an e-lesson, so that means it's a very short lesson that introduces you to an idea quickly. And it's really focused on dialogue and conversation and defining citizenship for your students and having them own the process. We also have a new e-lesson on this coming up on Thursday, where we talk about low stakes debate. It's drawn from our badging program on Socratic discussion. So at the Bill of Rights Institute, we have programming digital badges for teachers to do on their own time. It's a relatively new thing. We'd love for you to go to our website and sign up. Links are below to sign up for the badging, specifically the one on teaching Socratic pedagogy. So as you're developing respectful conversations in your classroom, one of the tools that you can use is something called Socratic Dialogue, which many of you are familiar with, but that it takes a little bit of work to get to the point where you can have those good conversations about great texts. And so our badge walks you through that, and this lesson is drawn from the content of that badge and helps you establish some early norms by doing what's called low stakes debate in the classroom. So really helping students learn the tools of dialogue without having kind of a high stakes conversation, something that's deep and meaningful, but instead builds the skills and habits, the habits of thought, in order to help them get to the point where they can have those great conversations. Another fantastic resource, and the last resource I want to talk to you about, is this great resource from our religious liberty curriculum. It's a lesson in that curriculum called From Toleration to Liberty, George Washington and Hebrew Congregation in Newport, Rhode Island. For those of you that don't know, George Washington wrote probably one of the more beautiful letters in American history, in my estimation, to the Hebrew congregation in Newport, Rhode Island. So a Jewish congregation in Newport, Rhode Island. This lesson really looks at the difference between what it is to live in a society of toleration versus a society of liberty. How do we think about the different roles of law and legal institutions in those two cultures? And what is the kind of ethical framework that toleration versus liberty creates in a culture or in a society? So in this lesson, students explore that. There's a great essay, then there are a couple of activities, and then there's this primary source document, which is this letter that George Washington wrote in 1790. And I want to leave you today. So I recommend going there. I think this idea of the difference between what does it mean to tolerate someone versus, or tolerate someone's ideas versus to recognize and respect that we live in a culture of liberty. That's a really important question that you can explore with your students at different levels. But I want to leave you with this quote from this letter today as you go off into this first week and we think about all the challenges in our communities and in our society at large, and what it means to be a citizen in a culture that values liberty. So again, this is George Washington to the Hebrew congregation. The citizens of the United States of America have a right to applaud themselves for having taken to mankind examples of an enlarged and liberal policy, a policy worthy of imitation. All possess alike liberty of conscience and immunities of citizenship. It is now no more that toleration is spoken of, as if it were by the indulgence of one class of people that another enjoyed the exercise of their inherent natural rights. For happily, the government of the United States, which gives to bigotry no sanction, to persecution no assistance, requires only that those who live under its protection should demean themselves as good citizens, in giving it on all occasions their effectual support. There's a lot to unpack there. I hope that brings you through the week. I look forward to hearing from you. We'd love to hear your comments, thoughts, suggestions. I'd love to hear what you're doing in the classroom. Again, my name's Rachel Davidson-Humphreys. I'm Director of Outreach at the Bill of Rights Institute. This is This Week in Civics, and we will see you next week with another episode. Thank you so much. Have a great week.